manufacturing, technology, hot topics, and a little bit of tomfoolery. This is the MTD Podcast.
Welcome to today's MTD Podcast. We're actually doing this from Iscar Tools, which is in Birmingham. Are we in Birmingham or just outside Birmingham?
You are in Birmingham, yeah.
Just outside Birmingham today. We've been at the Machining Techniques event, which is it's number 2, isn't it? Do you call it number 2, Machining Techniques?
Yeah, it's our second one. We did one earlier on this year.
Yeah, so they have 2 of these events a year. Joined by 3 people actually here. David Jones, who's the UK sales manager of Iscar. Joe Reynolds, obviously from MTD, and Gio Albanese as well from MTD. It's been a fantastic event. We're going to start with yourself, David, and later on in the show we're going to be joined by Mike.
Yeah.
But this is, tell us, this is the second event that you've actually hosted this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's gone very well today. You've had good numbers through the door. But just give us an overview of what the event's about.
The event was designed for education reasons more than selling purposes. We have to show benefit to customers when we sell product at their factories. So when we have an event like this, there has to be a benefit for coming to the event. So what we try to do is look at it from the perspective of everybody plans a job, everybody machines a job, everybody measures a job. So we've got all our partners involved. So we literally go from planning stage to measurement stage during the day. The attendance has been fantastic. We've put 160 people through the door today, and we're expecting the same tomorrow. So all in all, good day.
I mean, it is a fantastic facility that you've got here with a great auditorium, obviously machine tools, cutting metal, which really is what engineers want to see, isn't it? I mean, we've been doing some live stuff on YouTube today, and it's evident that the minute we get near a machine and there's chips flying around, which there is, the uptake of views goes...
It's a tactile industry, touchy-feely.
It sounds cliche, but it's like a permanent trade show, isn't it, when you look at the backdrop here and the machine tools you have and strategies. It's been a great day.
Yeah, and when you look at that sort of number of people when we visit events, generally, David, that's a high number. That is a high number. So you're doing something right.
Yeah.
What I've found impressive today as well, and I'm sure you have, is the retention of people. Sometimes at events you find from the hours of 11 till 1, 2 o'clock, they're very busy. For reasons other than the machining sometimes.
Sure, I think...
but outside of that, this has been busy ever since we got here this morning till tonight.
I think it's because we spread the day quite well, but every demonstration's got a benefit. It's different materials, different techniques, different tooling, different sectors of tooling. So, everybody's got a different interest. So I think we try to spread the love a little bit, and I think that's why we get people being here all day.
I think that's what I found quite unique about this open house to other open houses. Every single demonstration had a purpose, and it was illustrating the actual tools, the strategies, and the ways in which people can improve processes, real life applications rather than a generic application that's just been made up to show how the tool works. And I think that they can really associate with that and take that, as you said, take that back with them.
Yeah, it has to be a benefit.
Sorry, Paul. To me, the big one, I know you talked top of the show, education. Iscar aren't the only manufacturer of cutting tools, let's face it. And you're educating the correct way or a different way quite often to machine a component, almost the tools, the secondary. Of course, you're here, it's commercial business, you're here to sell cutting tools. But today seems to be more about the education.
It's always been that training is very important to us. Not just our own people, because you have to have educated people yourself. But it's also the fact that training is very important to certain applications that we look at. There are different techniques, different program strategies. Even some of our tools require a different program strategy. And if you don't educate and train that properly, you have a problem.
UK sales manager, David, how does events like today then reflect upon sales? Do you see spikes in in new product sales or in general business, or I know we're saying this is an education, but the long-term benefit has to be improved, increased sales?
I think it's twofold. I think yes, you do see a surge in interest in certain areas, but I think it's part of the continual process. It's you can't hit and run. We're here for the long term. We're one of the biggest companies in the business, and for that reason we get retention of business as well. But you've got to continually develop and try to help people.
I mean, Iscar as a company, I mean, they're well renowned for R&D and the money that they plough back into research and development. You're continuously evolving your products. You've just launched a new product today, the new parting off tool, which is revolutionary. Now, how do, you talk about education. It must be a big exercise within itself, educating your own people on the new products that are coming out. To have this facility must be a bonus.
Oh, the facility's fantastic. And it does so many things for us, whether it's training for our own people, training for our customers, product testing, product development for customers. We take their parts and use our facilities. But it's also a constant training program for our own people. Every year we have training days for our own people. We bring them off the road. We go through training programs. Even sometimes they have to pass tests. And they have to hit a certain score. If
I
they
should
don't
do that with these guys, shouldn't I?
Yeah, I would.
We wouldn't pass.
What I've seen today, I think you should.
You would have to pass the test yourself, Paul. That's the bad news. But the one thing I've got with this car, and I might be right, might be wrong. In terms of innovation, are there any manufacturers that release as many products?
No.
We talk about the first, indexable part-off system. They make the first indexable face mill. You've got a lot of global firsts.
Yeah, we're very, very proud of our innovation. Innovation never stops at this business, and that's the culture from right at the heart of this business, and that will continue. And I think it's one of those things where it's just constantly pushing the boundary to get cycle time reduction and cost improvement for people.
You talk about evolution and the new innovations that you bring in. Is it kind of determined a lot by the evolutions in the machine tools as well? Can you only go so far with your cutting tools dependent on the machine and vice versa?
It's a good question. It goes, in certain ways it goes hand in hand. And sometimes the tooling takes ahead of the machine tool goes ahead of the tool, and it's a constant evolution of process. We can develop tools that some machines can't push. They will develop a machine that then we need to go different in grade or carbide structure or whatever. So it's a constant evolution on both sides.
So pushing each other effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to.
We're going to be joined in a minute by Mike, because we're going to be talking about some of the demonstrations that have been happening and some of the products that have been released. I'm sure, judging by today, David, and what happened here in June, next year, similar events to be hosted on two occasions?
We will host events again next year. We may follow the techniques theme and keep going, because June was different to this one. So again, we may do the machining techniques again. We may decide to evolve it in a different way and learn again and go a different direction.
And I think what we have got to say is, if you do want to come to one of these events, it's really, really worthwhile, but you need to register early, because you did closed off registration some weeks ago, which again is unusual.
Unfortunately, we have a facility that can take so many people. I'd love to keep it open for hundreds and hundreds of people, but they just wouldn't fit in the building. So, yeah.
And you can get even less when you've got Joe here, because he likes to take
It's a bit of a unit.
You need to supply more food.
Do you know? I thought, great, we got a client on. It's going to be a clean show. No Mickey taken. How wrong was I?
But I would like to thank you, David, for joining us. And if you don't mind, if you could get Mike along, we can have a chat with him in a minute.
Cheers.
Thanks
No
a lot.
problem.
And good luck
Thanks very
tomorrow
much.
as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Cheers,
thanks
guys.
again.
So, guys, we're going to be talking about some of the demonstrations. Before Mike joins us, what was one of your highlights, Gio?
I think the multi-F grip parting off tool did impress me a lot, and the reasons being is it's design, really. I think that the fact that you can part off intermittently, like squares, rectangles, whatever the case, at that speed, I couldn't believe it, because in the past, when you've been on machines yourself, when you're doing them intermittent cuts, it just breaks the tip, or you've got to do it in such a way. To see it going through that quickly, things have changed.
Yeah. I always remember when I used to put the parting tool in the tool post, and you had to adjust the height to make sure you were right in the middle of the. And if you were over above it, you'd
have a pip at the end. You'd get to the bottom, and you'd get the little.
Then you get the file out.
Yeah, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, the emery tape, but that's digressing. So we're now joined by Mike Jones. Mike, Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Mike.
Just so for you're aware, as if when you're speaking into the microphone, Mike, if you could be quite close to the mic so people can pick up your answers to some of our questions. We've spoken to David. It's been a fabulous event today.
What a great day.
It has been a
What a
really
great
good day. Technically, it'd be good to get across to our audience some of the strategies that have been on show. Let's start really with the multi-master and the high-speed machining strategies. What were people able to see?
Okay, so what we did with the strategies with those, everybody has a go-to end mill where they can just pick it up and it will do the job. As you heard from our demonstrations, sometimes these can incur vibrations. So the whole idea of the first demonstration was to show off the new chatter-free variable pitch, variable helix cutters and how they dampen down the vibration. Obviously without vibration we increase tool life, and we can also there increase performance and obviously reduce cycle times, which is profitability for our customers.
Wow, what sort of feedback did you have from the audience?
We had a lot of positive feedback that obviously the increase of profitability that they can gain from implementing these new tools.
Yeah, for me, the multi-master, you know, back in the day, people used to say you're better off with a solid tool because there's no interface, whereas the face and taper, multi-master, that argument doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
You've got the savings of you're only buying the carbide that you use, and you don't need to throw away up to 80% of the tool. Quite often gets thrown away.
Yeah.
So how has that been resolved? How has that issue been, call it, resolved then? So you don't get the vibration on the indexable type tool?
It's based on a conical connection with that gives a taper and face contact, very similar to the high HSK spindle. So you get that taper and conical, and then that locks it in.
I mean, you've mentioned vibration a lot, not just in that strategy, but vibration has been one of the themes of today, and I think that it's kind of educating people into the kind of benefits that you can get if you're eliminating that, not only from cutting tools but work holding. I think sometimes we always talk about it on MTD. People will buy a machine tool and think that that'll cure all of the problems, but you're only as strong as your weakest link, aren't you?
That's exactly what it's about. It's about making everything right from the machine tool, hence why we have our partners here, which I believe Dave has spoken about. It's not only about the machine tool, it's the work holding, the actual coolant, and down to the cutting tools as well, and the adaptation between all that, connecting it to the new machine tools.
Now, just before you joined us, we were talking about parting off and reminiscing in times when we used to be in our tool rooms and our apprentices, and we were turning the handles and lowering the tool and getting the pip on the end of it, as Joe was saying. Things have moved on a bit here, it's fair to say.
just a little bit now. We've
showing our age, aren't we?
We've all done that though. And we all used to grind high-speed steel tools as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Obviously with the product launch of our multi-F grip, obviously we're talking now about very high feeds, but still maintaining the accuracy of the part without any distortion. And again, reducing the vibration, which is allowing us to run at the elevated
and with big
speeds.
intermittent cuts, it's incredible, isn't it?
That's the thing that really impressed me, was the intermittent cuts. We'd done some research previous to this podcast. 1977 was the first invention of the South grip, and it was, prior to that, it was brazed carbide. It took 4 minutes on 100mm diameter EN19 material. Now, same material, same diameter with this new product, 7.5 seconds. I mean, that is just the evolution, and that kind of really illustrates the kind of R&D that goes on at Iscar. We've looked at many products that have changed over the years and how they've changed, evolved to suit machine tools as well as different materials, etc.
This brings an interesting point to me, because often when we're talking about subjects and topics, we always say the hardware has come on as much as it can, and the main benefits now come from software. But this is an example of somewhere where the hardware has obviously been continually evolving at a pace as well, isn't it, to be able to deliver these kind of results?
It's all about the development. We were the first with the part off in the system right back in 1952, and we're on now 65, 70 years on, and we're still developing the part off system. It is our bread and butter.
Joe used the first one.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I probably broke it as well. But if we look around the showroom here, we got the Sumu Cam. It's named synonymous with the industry, isn't it? When you look around, you forget how many brands that Iscar have brought to market over the years.
It's exactly Iscar. We like to be first in the market, develop it, put it into the market, But every time we do it, we're adding benefits to our customers, reducing their cycle times, reducing their costs.
It's been a nightmare for the sales guys. All these new products. Oh no, another one.
We have been known, and from customers, I've actually said not Iscar with another new product.
Well, I want to also talk about this ceramic turning.
Yep.
We're gonna touch on most of these as we go through, but obviously we don't want to be rambling on for hours, as I'm sure we could. But the ceramic turning side, that was quite an impressive demonstration, wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously ceramic turning is moving on, but as Darren was explaining all through the demonstration, it's about how you prep the material to get the most out of your ceramic. And that's the real key part here, and how you actually use the ceramic, reducing it into the corners, backing off the feed, making sure there's no sharp cuts. Because obviously the higher speed and the feeds that we're doing with ceramics, you get notch wearing if you don't prep the billets properly.
What's the increase in potential, what's the reduction in cycle times using this technology, application being correct, material being?
Well, if you're looking at it, normally in canal you'd be turning it somewhere around 50-60 metres to get your optimum tool life. Obviously with our new grade, the ICM 804 and 806, we're up at 80-90, so we're nearly doubling that anyway with carbide. And now going to ceramic, you're talking 250, 300 metres. So you're talking nearly 10 times faster for production.
Wow, that's incredible, isn't it?
That big, massive savings, really. I mean,
Yeah.
again, we go back to design. I mean, it's all about the design, and then after that, it's education, isn't it?
That's the thing. That's what we try to do with these open houses, is to give the education as well as the tooling.
And if you watched it as a novice, you'd think there was a problem, wouldn't you?
You would think there was something.
Yeah, it looks a bit steel on steel, isn't it?
if you look at red swarf coming off a machine, the first thing you do is want to stop it.
And how's the surface finish?
The surface finish, obviously we did it dry for today's for viewing purposes. Normally, if you put coolant on there, it comes off like a mirror finish as well.
What I liked is, there were some very skilled engineers that have attended this open house today that have been in the trade for many years, and they were all learning today.
Yeah,
so everyone's
that's what
continuously
I like to,
learning and looking to pick
I
up.
like to stand back. They're all looking at the machine. You stand at the machine and just look at the people watching. You can see them nudging, and you can see their face, glowing, smiling. But just on ceramic, the solid end mills, it's. We see a bit of ceramic turning, but very little, end mills.
Yeah. Ceramic end mills they've been about for about 12, 18 months. But obviously because turning is a continuous cut, milling is always interrupted. And because the ceramic is so hard, normally it doesn't like interrupted cut.
Brittle, isn't it?
It's more brittle, so it tends to break. So obviously we've had to put toughness in so as you could use it for milling as well.
But if you said to somebody 10,000 RPM on 718 Inca, they'd think, oh, I've got one here, haven't I?
Exactly.
What's this clown on about? But it's astounding, and more people do need to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, this you must be putting more heat into the material to the finished part as well. So how do the tolerances?
You do. What you have to do whenever you're using ceramic milling, you need to leave minimum of 0.5 on, obviously, because then once you've roughed it, you can then get under that skin to actually give you the actual finish of standard. So it's usually used as roughing, semi-finishing, and then you usually finish with carbide, especially on sensitive parts.
And then when we look at high feed surfacing as well, this was drawing a lot of attention. The machine, you need a fast machine to do this as well, don't you? You need a fast processing speeds, good controls.
Not particularly. What you need with that is, because of the actual forces are put back up the spindle, you have very, very few linear forces. So you can actually gain, even on lower power machines, you can gain high metal removal rates just by, again, putting the right application. It's the combination of the depth of cut against the width of cut.
I mean, this is a strategy that has really changed over the years. I mean, I can remember when I was on the shop floor, it was more depth of cut and slower feeds and speeds. Now it's smaller cut, faster feeds and speeds. It's a totally new strategy, isn't it? And you're putting less wear on the machine tool, I would imagine, aren't you? You've got better longevity rates of the machine tool.
There's a lot of machine tools in our market, as you well know, that are probably 80% of the machine is lower size spindles, BT30s, BT40 spindles. High feed cutters and strategists tend to go there. There's not many people out there with big, what we used to call really heavy, powerful machines now. So these are the way of changing.
Well, there's been a lot of growth in the BT30 market, hasn't there?
Has,
when you take into account sort of the robo drills, the brother machines.
Exactly.
These machines are now, sales are doubling and tripling every year, and probably not just as a result of your technology, but those machines are getting stiffer and stronger as well, aren't they?
But Mike's point, I forgot your point. I couldn't get a word in there. Oh, sorry. Your point on the forces going up the Z-axis, essentially, back up the spindle is a good one. It's when you're using traditional end mills or any milling cut, it's on the side of the tool. With the high feed technology, the way that radius is on the bottom of the tool, it does push the forces up the spindle.
What about the spindle bearings, the spindle housing? Is there any, is there no...
No.
Because you've got a lot of the power and the rigidity is in your columns in the machines, and that's where your power's going and the forces
and it's
are going.
being dampened out.
Down. Sorry, just on the high feed. What I like about the high feed, many companies have got 2 or 3 products. I wouldn't like to say how many different high feed. I know application specific to coin one of Gio's phrases, but how many different versions do you have?
We probably have in total, I think there's about 18 different fast feed styles. We also do a medium feed as well, which is used in a different application against walls to save. So
face milling, pocketing, ramp milling,
profile machining, you name it. We have a tool to suit the application.
And not just for mould and die anymore.
No, we actually sell more of them for the aerospace industry than we do the die mold.
So all these different strategies, really, I'm looking at it. Is it we talk about application specific. So what questions would you ask the machine tool, the material?
Yep.
What are the kind of questions you would ask to kind of pick the right strategy?
Obviously, the right strategy. And again, a lot of it comes down to what the finished component is as well. If we're talking about thin wall sections, we would use a different strategy and a different cutter to whether it was thicker walls. And again, what's the component finished at? Is it a sensitive component? And where is it? Is it a structural component and things? We have to take all that into consideration.
Titanium long edge milling. Explain this one.
Okay, titanium long edge milling. As you saw, one of our new products there, the X Quad. We've basically now got variable pitch and a variable helix indexable cutter, but with a flat top geometry which has all of the edge prep put in for machining titanium. And as you saw, a 50mm tool, full slotting, 30mm deep, which used up all of the power that we had available on the machine. So we've now can push a extended flute cutter full slotting through titanium.
And that's some machine as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got over 30 kilowatts of power, and we're utilising all of that for machining titanium.
Just while we're talking about the long edge style cutter, we'll look at one here, what I would class as the A style, a lozenge style with serrations. What we've got there is essentially a 50mm, is it a 50mm diameter ripper, haven't we? Unequal pitch, unequal helix, serrations in it to reduce your chip thickness.
Yeah, the mill shred P290 is designed for the old, you'll all know the old Strassman ripper type styles. Put a high speed steel ripper in, it'll last forever, regrind it, low speeds. We now have a indexable version of that where we can do elevated speeds and feeds, and again, applying the trachoidal strategy, you're talking about a lot more than that.
Great idea, because people shy away from long edge cutters on lower power machines, whereas with that there's no need. It's trachoidal milling, no one's scared of that anymore. It's a good idea.
Are you seeing more applications now for titanium manufacture due to weight reduction?
Yeah, absolutely. Titanium, weight reduction, and obviously strength.
Barrel milling. We talk a lot about barrel milling, but this is now something in the portfolio that you're showing off today. Yeah,
barrel milling, very new for Iscar. As Ian said, we're launching the actual product for 2020. These were one of the first barrel mills we've had in the country. So we've obviously done some testing with it. We know of them, give very, very good cycle reductions for finishing. Obviously, we're not talking about 0.1, 0.2 step downs now for the cusp height. We're talking about 1.5, even 2 mil depths of cut to still give you the same surface finish.
What I find interesting, probably a bit controversial in a sense, is that when you look at today and you listen to you, Mike, about some of the improvements that you can make in your cutting tools, I wonder how many people out there are going out and buying new machines when they could actually get more out of the one they've already got.
Again,
that's 80% of them.
It's a golden question, and it's about getting the whole package right. And some of the packages are out, machine tools are out there. Can we improve productivity by looking at it as a complete package, strategy and cutting tool and work holding? Everything, of course, we can.
Your highlight from the event today, Mike, I know you've got another day tomorrow. What's
highlight
impressed you?
Apart from MTD.
My highlight for the day is obviously some of the feedback I've had from the customers I've spoke to. Everybody's gone away learning something. 1-2 little things that they can take back, which gives them the benefit of coming to an open house like this, and then their companies get something back from what we've taught them.
That's good. Anything else you want to question Mike about before we wrap this one up?
I think he's really kind of covered all bases
I did.
in it
I've
very
enjoyed
well.
it.
So thanks, Mark. For
No
me,
problem.
you've been brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the motorway like this time of night?
Very busy. You got a long journey home.
Yeah, I thought so. No. Joking aside, it's been a great day from Iscar. We appreciate this. We appreciate your time and the hospitality, and thanks for the invite.
And thank you for coming. It's been a really good day. Educational.
So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast here from Iscar in Woodgate, which is just outside Birmingham. This event is on tomorrow, but obviously when you're listening to this podcast, that will be history. But there will be more events like this coming in 2020. So keep posted to MTD to find out when they are. Because as we said earlier with David, you need to register early, otherwise you might not get through the door. But that's it from us today here at Iscar Tools. Thanks, guys.
See you next time.
Thank you.